everyone, and welcome to Shankar's World. My name is Shankar, and today we are going to be diving into the exciting world of Scratch programming. Whether you're a complete beginner or looking to brush up your skills, you're in the right place. Scratch is a fantastic visual programming language developed by MIT Media Lab. It is designed to make your own coding fun and accessible for everyone, especially kids and beginners of coding. With Scratch, you can make your own interactive stories, games, and animations. In this series, we'll start by firstly learning the basics, and gradually we will move on to more advanced projects. Today we will cover the essentials understanding of the Scratch interface, creating your first sprite, and writing your first scripts. The first question that comes to everyone's mind is, how can I have access to this software? And is it a paid version or is it free? Friends, it's absolutely free, and you can download it from scratch.org. So now, when you open up Scratch, this is probably the home screen you're going to land on. So as you can see, to the corner of the screen here, we have our blocks that we can drag and drop over here. This area we will use to script everything we need to do for our project. If we go off to the side here, we can see the stage where all the sprites and other things will all happen on here, and this is where all the code will run. Then if you look down here, you can see two buttons. One of these buttons is to choose a sprite, the other is to choose a backdrop. Now if you don't have any idea what a backdrop is, it's simple, it's just a background. So to get started, now let's get this little Scratch cat here and give him some code. Of course, if you want, you don't have to use this Scratch cat sprite. You can just go over here to choose sprite and use any of these that you want. But I won't be using them, and I'll just be using the basic classic Scratch cat. So, starting off, you might have noticed these two buttons at the top of the stage. So what do these buttons do, you ask? Well, they are here to run and stop the project. If you click the green flag, it will start the project, and if you click the red stop sign, it will stop the project. Meaning that this block is very useful, aka the when green flag clicked block. This block just checks whenever this green flag is clicked, and then it will do any of the code which is attached onto it. So, for example, let's get a move 10 steps block from the motion category. So now, if we click the green flag and we activate this code, as you can see, our little cat is moving. And let's say, do you want your cat to move left or in the opposite direction? Then it's very simple. Just make it the negative version of the number you did for right, and then it will start moving towards its left. And we have a bunch of more categories to work with here, since it's not just up and reflex click and move 10 steps block. For example, these looks category and sounds and events and controls, sensing operators, variables, and my blocks. And over here it gets kind of complicated, but for now we'll just focus on the first few categories. And they're pretty similar to what their names are. Motion is for moving, or turning the sprites, or going to positions. Oh, speaking of positions, you might have realized all these weird numbers and other things down here below the sprite. So what are these things? Well, they calculate pretty much everything. It's the sprite's name, how big do you want the sprite to be, what direction the sprite should face in, and the Y and X level of the sprite. Now, if you don't know what Y and X means, then I'll explain it pretty quick here. When the Scratch cat, or when this little sprite goes to the position which is 0, 0. So when y gets set to 0 and x gets set to 0, pop, he goes right into the center of the screen. So what is x and y? As you can see from these lines next to them, x means horizontal and y means vertical. And then the both two lines meet each other, they will reach the center of the stage, which in Scratch is x0 and y0. So now we gotten that out of the way, you can see there are other blocks here, such as point towards directions and changing the x positions and y positions that we just learned about. And if you want, you can also make the x position and y position appear right here on the screen, so you can have a little bit of more guidance and see if there are any problems about them. So next we'll move down to look, and as the name suggests, it's about how the sprite looks and how to switch their costumes. Now, how do you switch their costumes, you ask? Well, it's all about this next costume block and this switch costume block. It's pretty simple. You can see here, next to the code section, we have costumes and sound. We'll get to the sound part in a little bit, but for now, let's look at the costumes. As you can see, for this Scratch Cat sprite, the costume, they has two costumes. One for just standing still, and one for walking. And this is not the same with every sprite, because of course, any sprite has a different amount of costumes and different looking costumes. So, what we can do, add a next costume block to your move block. So now when you click the green flag, bop, he looks like he's actually walking. But it looks kind of weird when he's moving -10. So make it 10 and there you go. As you can see, the Scratch Cat actually looks like he's walking properly. And why is it so? It's all because of the looks category. And also in the looks category, we can switch the backdrops also. As I explained before, these backdrops are actually just backgrounds called as that, pretty much. And fun fact, you can actually add code to the backdrop. Of course, when you're in the backdrop, a lot of things have changed, such as there's a vent stage click block instead of vent spray click. And you can not use motion blocks, because of course, why would the background need to move? So yeah. And if you want a background in your game, then just click it, and you can use any of these built-in ones, or you can even paint your own if you want to. And as you can see, all of these are split into categories. But for now, I'll just use the blue sky one. So next we'll move down to sound category. And as I explained before, it's about time I show you the sound area next to both of the code and the costumes. So as you can see, for this Scratch Cat sprite, there's already an inbuilt-in sound. Let's hear it. As you can see, it's just a little meow sound because, of course, it's a cat. But if you want some other sound, you can either record your own sound, or you can choose a sound here. There are a bunch of music instruments or sax or other things. There are animal sounds such as chatter or a duck, and they can get pretty funny. And they are also split into categories just like the sprites and backgrounds. If you want to have a thing that loops, then go to the loops category. And if you want things that fit into slightly other things such as space, sports, voice, and wacky sounds. The wacky sounds probably has to be my favorite because it just has the weirdest sounds ever. And of course, there's an all category, which just contains all of the sounds there are. Alright, let's go back. So how do you exactly use this sound block? Well, we have this play sound until done block and a start sound block. These other blocks we'll take in another video, but for now, these are the two important videos. For the two are important blocks. When you play a sound until done, it will play the entire sound effect, which is this meow in this case, until it's done, and then move on with the rest of the code. However, for start sound, if you just start the sound, it won't play it until done. So, let's say you're making this game in Scratch and you want a background music. Well, if you're making a background music, it's very important that you use the play sound until done block. Why? Because it plays the whole sound effect until it's done. So we get this small forever loop, and all what this block does, whatever blocks are inside of it, it just repeats that cycle forever. So as you can see, we have anyways, but what if we replace this play sound meow until done block with a start sound meow block? Get ready. Yeah, it sounds really, really weird. That's because it's as soon as it starts playing the meow sound, it will keep on playing it and keep on playing it over and over again. So it just goes meow like that. And next is the events category. Now these events category are probably the most important because they are where we find the when green flag click block and every other way to start a project, pretty much, or anything with this little rounded top here. That means no block can be placed above it. See, I cannot connect a red green flag block to another red green flag block. Oh, it kind of looks like it, but no, that's not working. So we have a few. We already had the red green flag block that I already taught you about, so we won't do it again. And then we have a then space key block. Of course, it doesn't have to be the space key. And you can make it any of these keys on your keyboard. And whatever action is here, it will make the cat do it when the space key is pressed on your keyboard. Then we have messages. These are when background switches and when loudness on and when loudness increases, but we'll get to this in a bit. These are messages which are pretty important. We have broadcasting a message and when I receive a message. Now, what are these differences? Well, let's say a little thing. For the order to have messages in the game, we need 2 sprites. So I'll go over here and choose a sprite. And I'm just going to go to the animals category and let's just pick this elephant. Why not? And what we are going to do is make it that red and green flag clicked. So whenever this thing is or this little flag is clicked, it should broadcast a message. Now this doesn't have to be title message 1. You can title it whatever you want. So I'll just call it, I don't know, receive the broadcast. Since we're just experimenting with the broadcast block here, I'm not gonna make it too complex. And then we go to the Scratch Cat here, aka this guy we have been working on, and we use this when I receive block. When I receive the broadcast, it has to play the line of code. So this is how you can have some communication between sprites and other connections. So if you want connections to sprites from one sprite to another, this is the block you are looking for. And next, and for the finale of what we will do now, we have the control section, which is probably the most complex. But for the first part, it's actually pretty simple. Starting off with the wait 1 second block. As it says, you wait 1 second. And of course, you can change it to whatever number you want. I'm not sure who would wait 9,898 seconds or something, but not me. And then we have the repeat 10 block. Now, what is this code? And what is this block? And what is the difference from the forever block we used previously? Well, I already explained the forever block. It repeats all the actions in here forever. But here, for the repeat block, we can type in the amount of times we want to repeat the action. Then, if we go down a bit, we have the if-then block. Probably this if-then block will come to handy for many Scratch projects in the future that we will make. So what is this if-then block, and why does it have this little gone-shaped little hole inside of it? Well, that's because you can flip things inside of this block. Not in here, but in here. So, if you, for example, we will take this touching block from the next category, which we will get to later. Or we can do this key space block, which it just checks when the key is pressed. And we can connect it to the event items like click. But make sure whenever you're using an if block, most of the times you have to also use a forever. Why you have to use a forever? Well, otherwise it would just check, is the space key pressed at the beginning of the game? No, I don't need this code anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much what it does. But if there's a forever loop, it will always keep on checking. And if it is, let's make it move, I don't know, in order to indicate that slightly slow, let's make it move slightly less than move 10 steps. So I guess it's a kind of slow walk. So as you can see, when we click the new flag, he moves. But if we click this, yeah, he just kind of glides. But why does he glide instead of moving properly? Well, that's because he's in a forever loop. And if you want him to also have the costumes, then just add a next costume block. And there you go. So, that will be the end of this simple introduction to the basic categories and blocks in Scratch.